I would like to make notice that this is Kathy Millard's last meeting as clerk for Breezy Point, and as a tribute to her, she will be opening the meeting and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So, Kathy, you can open the meeting, please.
Well, I've never done this before, so bear with me. 7 o'clock. Let's call the regular meeting of the Breezy Point Council to order, and let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And with the mayor's permission, I'm going to go back and sit with staff now. But thank
really
you for
wanted to
this
be up here, but
opportunity.
she wants to hide in the back.
I'm not hiding. Thank you.
I do have one thing to add. We have two items that you have handed out here, additions to the agenda. There'll be items 7D and 7E. 7D will be, essentially, it's a housekeeping item. It's a signatory change, replacing Kathy Millard with Deb Runksmeyer for signing documents. And then we also have an opening on our cemetery commission, and so this will be appointing Kathy Millard to the cemetery commission, and that will be item 7E. Can I have a motion to accept the changes to the agenda, please? Move. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item is the consent calendar. You have your council minutes from August 6th of the regular meeting, and we have approval of claims totaling $52,633.12, which includes electronic checks 2133E through 2134E, paper checks 134578 through 134621, and 134624 through 134641. And we also have an update on the City of Breezy Point election races. Is there anything anybody would like to remove from the consent calendar, discuss separately? Councilman Maroney?
No.
Councilman Mitchell?
No.
Councilman Ball?
No.
Councilman Bakken?
No, sir.
Entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the approving the consent calendar as written, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The consent calendar is approved as written. Next item is open forum. Anybody wishing to have anything before the city council, please come forward and state your name and address and address the council.
Diane Williams, 32744 North Woods Lane, Breezy Point. Couple congratulations to Kathy, and a thank you to Kathy for all the years she's served us. And roads, I suppose, congratulating them on the good job of patching and repairing Bushman Road. And with that in mind, that's such a good job on there, I'd like to request that Northwoods Lane get some patching. Because I know where the new house went in, it got torn up pretty bad.
Oh.
And then there's a couple other spots, another turn, which I'm sure you're aware of, and some places, but the patching's holding up so well on Bushman that it's
Well, that's good to hear.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
go to Bushman every day.
Yeah.
And then a question, I know like Northwoods Lane was sort of on that list of, it's too far gone over the hill, why do anything to it kind of thing. But if it's patched and repaired with this excessive Bushman, would you consider chip seal Bushman and maybe Northwoods Lane and see if we can't eke out a few more years on those things? I know that both of those roads were put in without engineering, so they really held up remarkably well. And if you could prolong Bushman, which is a really costly project with chip seal, I mean, it might be worth a try to see if we can get several more years out of it. Because there are a few bad spots, yes, but the bulk of these two streets are in good shape.
Okay.
You know, there's some low spots where it may be wet or corners where people, cut them too short and go off the edge and crumble it. But other than that, I think they're holding up remarkably well. And I'd like to see them continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joe, do we have Bushman on the horizon for anything at this point, or?
No,
Okay,
related to hot mix patching, Northwoods, the next time hot mix is available, Northwoods and Timberlane Point are two of the roads that
Okay.
don't quite meet the criteria for chip sealing, but as Diane attested to, the hot mix seems to be the economical and fairly effective.
okay, good. Anybody else for open forum?
Roy Wallers, 8871 Birch Lane. Point of information from my point, page 10 of the agreement. It says Crow Wing County is crossed out and put Cass County. I don't follow that.
10.
Referring to the
Oh.
signatory person?
That's,
That's where the person is.
right,
Okay.
That has to do just for notary, nothing else.
right. She's a notary for, that's
Oh, it's the
recognized.
notary's address or the?
The notary's address.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else for open forum? Open forum is closed. Mayor and city council reports. I don't really have anything new to report. I will have to I'd like to take this time and thank Kathy for 29 years of performance here in the city of Breezy Point. And she has a knowledge base that is just beyond belief as far as being able to track things down, knows where everything is. She's going to be dearly missed, but she's, Deb is learning as fast as she can. And, Deb will be able to step in and, pick right up where Kathy left off, as well as she's going to still be around to maybe answer a few questions and stuff. So thank you, Kathy, so much. We really appreciate everything that you've done. Council members. Councilman Baca, anything?
Ditto to what you just said. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to outlive you. It's been my goal ever since I joined forces here to last it out, so it's been a pleasure. And her appointment to the Cemetery Commission, that's an official action
Yes.
that we will take.
Yes.
If I may be allowed to make that motion, I would like to do that
You can make the motion.
at this moment or later.
No, later.
Thank you.
It's going to be items 7D and 7E, so it's a waste of.
Okay, just pull my chain. A couple of quick things, just an update, FYI for everybody here, and I've been allowed to report there's two buys on the airport and two significant airport homes going to be constructed. Significant homes. And a third one pending that's looking very, very positive. So that's all very good for the city. Just a brief note on affordable housing. Brainerd Dispatch, whatever this issue is, Wednesday the 22nd, panel suggests, this was a governor's panel, Minnesota needs at least 300,000 more homes for affordable housing. I found that quite interesting. Governor Mark Dayton, this is a quote, said 500,000 Minnesotans are struggling to afford quality housing, and I think that's very evident in this city, something we sorely need. Also, it's my understanding, and perhaps the administrator could back me up on this, it's my understanding, and I saw it in a paper, I think the state has recognized Brainerd for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for their achievement with the Brainerd Oaks subdivision. Am I correct?
No.
No.
With the National Association of Housing Authority,
Thank you.
they received a
Meritorious.
meritorious award. And I question what that actually meant. Did
Me
it
too.
out like bubble gum? No, there was only a handful of those received from the entire country.
Significant, and I think that's something that we here in the city of Breezy Point should take real note of. That's all I have to say. Thank you for the privilege.
Yep, and basically following along with that, we've been working with the HOA to come up with possible solutions for our tax forfeit properties.
Yes.
So we are working with them
That's
to
great.
see if we can make some headway on
I
that.
know that, Mayor. Great.
Okay. Councilmember Ball.
And yeah, and just to reiterate that point, we are also looking at the affordable housing with the comprehensive plan rewrite that we're working on now. So as far as an update for that, we just had our second meeting for the steering committee for that, and then again, it went really well. We started looking at the survey that Sourcewell is helping us put together, and that will go out mid-September. And so that, there's an email, I don't know, Pat, if you sent that out? Okay, yeah, for the steering committee members to review the final questions for the survey, and then they're hoping to have that go out mid-September. So hopefully as community members, you'll be seeing that and can respond.
Will we get a chance to review the final questions that go out in the survey, the council?
The council, that's not really part of the plan, the
I, for one, would
committee.
like to see that.
We can get you a copy of it.
I
for
would
you to
appreciate
take a
that
look
very
at.
much.
Yeah.
And I'd like some input before that's executed.
Sure.
Thank you.
But it's basically the steering committee is responsible for getting that.
I understand
And
how
it's
steering
not-
committees work.
It's,
Yeah,
it's not a council approval type thing,
I understand that.
okay? And kind of going along with that, one of the things in that steering committee that we had was when you have a survey, the response rate is generally pretty low. They also, and they would say maybe 5%. And when incentives have been offered, the response rate goes dramatically up, and maybe as high as 40%. So we are considering seeing, going out to various business members, business communities to offer, gift cards or something like that we can offer as incentives for people who take the survey, and then we can have a drawing afterwards to find out who wants to, or who's participating, and then have some prizes and stuff for people to give those out. So that's one thing that we are considering, and hopefully we can get that started here in the next few days. So, Councilman Mitchell.
No report.
Councilman Barone.
I have a huge thank you to some community members for our Night to Unite that happened almost a month ago. Last year was our first year that we did it. The chief and staff put that on. This year we had 3 volunteers step up, and I think they deserve some great recognition. That was Shannon, I'm going to hopefully pronounce these names correctly, Shannon Catterhagen, Valerie Fixdale, and Susie Weatherby, along with other volunteers that were there helping out. I think it was a great success. A lot of people showed up, I thought. We had LifeLink there. We had the drones out there. Jason was driving some drones. We had 4-wheeler rides by Joseph. All around, it was a phenomenal night, well attended. So a huge appreciation for that night going out to everybody.
Sheriff Water Patrol was there.
Sheriff Water
With the
Patrol,
boat.
thank you. Fire Department,
Yes, it was, very good.
Game warden.
thank you.
Yeah, Jay with you on the ride on the ATV.
Jay, sorry, yeah.
No, that was a very good, well-attended event. That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Committee reports. Personnel Committee, is there anything to report from personnel? Finance Committee. Finance Committee met a couple weeks ago, and we have the preliminary 2019 budget that you have there. If you can look at that, this is the first time that it is being presented, and we're setting the level, the levy to, the numbers here. Setting the levy to $2,042,201, which is approximately a 4% increase from last year. I'm not going to go through all of the line items. You can look through that memo. The memo is pretty comprehensive as far as where the changes occurred, what things went up, and then you also have a copy of the preliminary budget. We have to have this, the preliminary levy has to be out in September 2018, and then we will be setting the final budget in the December 3rd meeting, where we would do the final approval. So we have a lot of time to go through it. We have Resolution 1815, which sets the preliminary level at the amount of the $2,042,201 and establishes the final budget meeting of December 3rd. So I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 1815 at this time, and then we'll have discussion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Rebecca, I'll start with you for discussion, being part of the Finance Committee. Any questions or comments that you'd like to make at this point, or?
No, I think it's very good. So thank you, Patrick. I know you put a lot of time into this and crunching the numbers. The one thing, and you can maybe help me with this if I'm stating it wrong, but the one thing we did talk about is if some of the numbers come back more favorably, maybe we have a little bit more wiggle room there. Do we want to consider maybe putting some of those funds back into road improvements? That was something that we talked about considering. I don't know if we need to really decide that now because we don't know what's going to happen, but just for a point of discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the numbers we talked about that could be adjusted are the health insurance, when employees pick if their choose the plan that they want, and then finalizing the details of salaries.
Councilman Bakken.
None, sir.
Okay. Councilman Mitchell.
I've got a question. Prosecution legals got over a 60% increase. Exactly what is prosecution legal and why the big increase?
That comes from the county. It's basically a bill that we get from the county.
That is the county attorneys. Don and Ryan met with the chief merchant and I, June or July, kind of forewarned us about it, but he wasn't finalized on that. He did send us a letter early in August saying that he was going to have to vote that amount, just making sure the county board in their process of making sure that everybody pays their fair share, as it were, for the actual services they're using. And if the council agrees to this tonight, at the very next meeting, we'll modify the agreement with the county at the point in time. The chief and I talked about it with the attorney, and there are other cities that go out and contract for that, and that's something we may want to look at. But we do have a very good working relationship, and I would like Kevin to talk more in detail about that. And so the working relationship is important to maintain at this time.
Councilman Brody. Any?
I have no questions.
We still have time to, we'll be looking this over,
Yeah.
and we can discuss it in October, November, if we have any further questions. And then December 3rd is our final approval on it. I do want to add one thing, being part of the Finance Committee myself. Any extra monies we have been channeling towards road improvement. Roads are the single most important thing that we can do for improving the city, that we have control over. It's been my policy since I've been mayor that I want to incrementally improve the city a little bit every year without taking on any debt. And so far, we've been managing to do that. So any monies that we get, like for example, we had some bonds that we got paid off a couple years ago, and the money that we were paying on those bonds, we channeled over to our roads budget. The roads budget is actually in pretty good shape. We're basically paying as we go for getting our stuff done. That has been a real big plus for us because we're not taking on any debt to get this thing done. And that's what I want to continue to do in the future as we get extra monies in. I'll have them targeted for the roads so that we can do extra chip sealing, we can do a little bit of paving. And in addition, recommendation that has been going into the comprehensive plan in order to minimize the number of tax forfeit lots on minimum maintenance roads. where we cannot issue building permits on the minimum maintenance roads. We will be upgrading at city's expense the minimum maintenance road to gravel status. And that way it will open up a lot of these tax forfeit lots to be built on. And hopefully that will start reducing our inventory of tax forfeit lots. So it's an expense that that I think the city should be incurring and taking that on to try and minimize the number of tax forfeit lots that we have out there. And again, that's not implemented right now. It will be part of the comprehensive plan, so we'll have a chance to review that and vote on it as part of the public hearing process in approving the comprehensive plan. So, that said, all those in favor of approving Resolution 1815 to set the preliminary levy at $2,042,201?
Aye.
Aye.
They got the mayor's attention.
Okay.
Roll call.
Okay. Resolution 1815 is approved. Next, we have the development agreement for White Birch for the North Star Center. Last month, we approved an agreement that had that turns out that White Birch had some issues with, and we have revised the wording in a couple sections of the agreement to be in accordance with what White Birch was adding. We also had comments from Crow Wing County, and there's a letter incorporating those. The changes are essentially with the adjusted amount due to things that have been already completed, so it decreases the fee by $39,000, and it also removes the roundabout section on page 7. It's 18C actually gets removed in the signed copy. The comments from the county were received after this document had been signed and agreed to by White Birch. So at this point, I'm just going to open it up to discussion before we take any action on it. Councilman Bakken, I'll start with you. Do you have any?
No, I've been intimately involved with it. It makes sense, and it's just a wordage change in essence.
Well, the reason I say it's relatively significant from the standpoint of it is totally removing section 18C from all of it. 18C gets totally removed, which was essentially not in accordance with the county. And I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. And as far as the in 10A, the reduction, that's contingent on this document being approved. Councilmember Ball, do you have any?
Yeah, I
anything
have
more?
a couple questions. Patrick, I think maybe you can help with some of this, but one is, I understand that Mr. Spizo executed the agreement before the letter came in, but the city hasn't executed it yet, so it's not a final until we would sign it.
Correct.
So based on the comments from Crow Wing County, have we discussed making changes to that agreement? Based on their recommendations to both the sections 18 subsection B and 18 subsection C? What was the misunderstanding, I guess, first of all? Was it just the roundabout part, or was it the entire section C?
For the developer, it was the entire section, 18 to be more. He has a representative here tonight that can address some of those questions if you'd like, but the the county was looking at, instead of eliminating completely, just say intersection improvements as a word.
Right.
That's what it is. But then also in section 8, the other provision on the north and south end of Ranchette. Right now, the agreement says just the south end.
Correct.
The county and I had some discussions about that early on when we approved the first agreement, and they didn't convince me that they were immediately necessary, and so we didn't include it as part of the agreement. They are then, this is their second bite of the apple, and so as long as it was coming back, they thought they put a formal request in the city council to request it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you don't have concerns with it not being in there? Is that, I mean,
I don't know, maybe Justin or could speak to it if he'd like to. I don't know if you were in part of the initial discussion when that happened either last year or.
Well, I guess I'm familiar with, the background and the county's take on it, and I understand that, I guess the city's take is that maybe there's a difference of opinion, that the county feels like they're looking out for the safety of the intersection as a whole. And so they're kind of, I don't know, maybe taking the conservative or erring on the side of caution approach. If one leg of the intersection is going to be improved because of development in an area, probably there's going to be increased traffic to both the north and south leg. That's kind of what they continue to stand by. I think that the traffic study that was done for that intersection, it supports that the traffic would be generated by the development happening on the north or south side, and it doesn't necessarily lead to improvements being needed on both sides at the same time. So they, as I said, they're kind of erring on the side of caution. It seems like what they're going toward, but I support what Patrick's saying too.
No.
It really comes down to the number of traffic and how much it is generated. Initially, when the C-Store was proposed over a year ago, there's a lot more traffic than what's being generated with the pharmacy or with the clinic. And so there were some processes involved, and it gets down to talking to Mr. Landecker and the engineers that's looking at what point of development do you start requiring all these improvements. If you wanted to look at it for complete safety, you'd say, let's put the roundabout in today. But the traffic numbers aren't there for that whatsoever. And so it gets hard to justify that, and it's cost effective and those type of issues. And part of the logic I was using, the south side development, the south side improvement. If the north side does an improvement or another ice sheet or another apartment complex, then they do the north side improvements. And, the study was very clear. The 181-page study was very clear that when traffic rises and there's more development, then another study is going to be needed before that final improvement, whatever that would be needed, would be required. So it's complicated. It's not an easy, after 1, 2, you hit 3. No, it's maybe 2.5. I'm not sure the answer is.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that another traffic study would be done, and that's in here. Is this a part of the traffic that another traffic study, after the bulk of the development happens, another traffic study would be done to determine, if improvements are warranted at the intersection.
yeah,
But
and that's coming out based on the edit, but.
That was part of the initial traffic study, the CUP that was granted for the C-Store. It's completed.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's very helpful. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding
Yes.
the impact.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, when the traffic gets to the point that's gonna need a traffic light, then it's going to be, again, a roundabout is gonna be considered, and if it is, who will pay for that? The county, the city, or both?
That ultimately have to be determined at that time. Other places that I've worked, this development happens in the middle of a farm field. The developer pays for it, but you have to be able to derive that they're receiving the benefits from it. That's a court case throughout and reinforced again this summer. You can't just charge them for fees, and it has to be related to their development.
Councilman Barone.
I might be just having a hard time with the word game. So subsection B of Ranchette states the turn lanes on Ranchette Drive to be added at the south leg continues on saying are not needed following the completion of phase one.
Phase one is just an initial pharmacy.
Correct.
Phase two would be any development or structure whatsoever.
So if we read Ranchette Drive, the turn lanes on Ranchette Drive to be added at the south leg of 11 intersection per the traffic impact study done by Wenck Associates in January 17 are not needed following completion of phase one.
So go down to the second paragraph.
So, but just to clarify, so there's no turn lanes needed
At this time.
at
Right.
this time at all?
Yep.
Right.
Okay,
This was Tim Bray actually calling me to tell me that.
okay. And then the turn lanes shall be installed as part of phase two, no matter what kind of construction is going on. But is that still just the south leg and we're still not addressing the north leg?
Just the south leg.
Right,
The county's encouraging us to include the north leg.
right.
Yes, they are.
And we don't want to do that?
We'd like to
That's a
have
cross
roundabout
discussion. Okay,
for safety purposes, and if you look at it just strictly as a safety matter.
I guess, and the county says, they don't want a state roundabout, right? They want to leave it open to whatever the traffic study
Yes.
allows.
Yes.
But at this point, we don't have a second traffic study slated that it's going to have to be done.
Right.
So I'd almost say, if we're removing the north side to be done, I'd almost want another traffic study done or something to be looked at, something to be not acknowledging that we may still need something going forward before phase two goes on. It may be nothing. It may be very well nothing. There may be no accidents. There might be no traffic incursions, but do we have anything in there to protect ourselves?
My perception was whenever a development occurred on the north side, they would need another development agreement, and we could at that time make those additional requirements at that time for the north side.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. I defer to
Agreed.
city council. The city council says we want the north and south side in on whatever development on the south side. That's your call too. The county makes a fair argument that there's an alignment issue there. And when you're on the site, it's hard to see, but when you're looking at the map overhead, it's easier to see the alignment type issues. But it's hard to say how much traffic is going to be generated.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I think Mr. Landecker could shed some light on Councilman Maroney's concerns. So I hate to put you on the spot, but you're the engineer, as they say.
I want to finish our discussion first, and
Fine.
then if we need to have
Fine.
comments from from White Birch, we can do that.
I'm done.
One of the things, I kind of agree a lot with what Mike is saying from the standpoint of, right now we have development on basically 3 of the corners, and 1 is a totally vacant corner. Whenever we get into a situation where a roundabout is needed, that is going to be way down the road. And I don't think we should hold this development agreement hostage for something that probably won't happen for 30 years. So from that standpoint, I'm very much in favor with dropping that 18C as is proposed. As far as the north and south, it's 6 and 1/2 dozen another, because I don't think it really impacts the overall project. So
So as this was written, was the developer going to pay for the roundabout?
he was going to be required to put in some money for it. But again, like I say, that is not going to happen for quite a few years. I don't think the clinic will have that much traffic that would entail needing a roundabout there. So it's more on the increasing population of Breezy Point as, that whole area would develop. If he has his further development over across the street by the hockey arena that has been bandied about, as well as if the vacant land decides to be developed into some commercial activity, which would be very advantageous. Then we would have other development agreements that could incorporate how the roundabout gets paid for. So,
Well, just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, if I may, subsection 3 of C for roundabouts does say all costs not covered by the county will be paid by the developer.
which is kind of a nebulous statement, how much the county's going to kick in.
Right.
So,
But if Mr. Mitchell was asking if the city was going to be costing any of those.
oh,
at that
I'm
point,
sorry,
no.
yes,
I
correct.
didn't know- Maybe he wasn't going that route, but
It's a county road. There would be possibly some city costs as far as, anything dealing with interfacing roads and stuff like that we might be responsible for.
If it helps, when we talk about section C3, it was part of being removed. It talks about the county intends to construct a roundabout at this intersection. If you recall, this agreement is only between the city and the developer. This was used as a placeholder to identify to everybody that a roundabout or some future improvement might be needed. But by no means could this document hold the county to construct a roundabout. It was there to relay what was discussed in the 181-page document about the traffic study and to say, let's start working our way to that direction.
Okay? So at this point, I know White Birch has, David Landecker is here representing White Birch, and he has a statement that he could read if he so desired. Anybody think we need to have more information from White Birch at this point?
I'm okay.
No? Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
that's fair myself.
So I think what I'm hearing right now is that we can approve the development agreement as it is modified and has been agreed to by the White Birch Development, and we can sign this off. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the North Star Development Agreement as amended.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The White Birch Development Agreement is approved as it has been amended. Next item of business is our Noxie's well memo. The vacant lot over there that was the old supper club, everybody kind of knows it as the Noxie's property, has a well on it. The well was damaged a while back, and our insurance paid for the damage to the well. We did an investigation to find out if the well could be repaired or if we should abandon it. It turns out the repair is really not a viable option, and so we're basically looking at abandoning that well or reinstalling a new well. The reason that we would want to install a new well is if we had some plans that would require the use of water as well as possibly having a building there and with sewer connection and all that kind of stuff. So we have two options that Joe's put together for us. The first one is to seal the well and leave it as green space. In other words, we would no longer have that well there. The other one would be seal the well and install a new well for future use. I think the layout, or what he has written here, is pretty well self-explanatory, and I think our best, because, let me put it this way, because Park and Rec has not designated any future use for this, what we will do is just plant some wildflowers there and let it go into a green space, and then come back at it later, and if we want to put in a new well, we can do that at a later date. So I think the option here is to entertain a motion to, as per option 1, to seal the existing well and leave as green space.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Councilman Maroney?
Seeing no immediate use for it, there's no purpose in doing it to get it damaged again.
Councilman Mitchell?
No discussion on that
Councilman
part.
Ball?
Well, I was just gonna ask, you don't see any, I mean, we don't see any possibility of a use for it with the well? I mean, I guess, I just want to make sure, because sometimes if we wait, and maybe, Joe, you could weigh in on this, it could cost more
It will.
Yeah.
in a few years to do the same thing,
Yeah,
so.
I think with the,
But if we
what
don't
Joe
have
has
it-
written here basically is, it'll cost us a lot to put the well in there, and we really don't have any plans at this, no solid plans at this point to use that well, so it would just be sitting there. So, I think what he has put here is pretty well laid out. Councilman
And
Bach?
maintaining it would be just kind of, it wouldn't make sense, is that kind of what I'm getting
It would,
from you?
the well would just be sitting without being used. I don't think that would be beneficial.
Okay.
to it.
Right.
I
Nope.
mean, really,
That's good.
I would recommend, if we knew the use that we needed in, say, a year, go ahead, but,
No.
we're not really losing anything by, let's put one in, when we need one, say, 10 years or whatever, so.
Nope, that's helpful,
Yep.
thank you.
Councilman Bakken?
No, sir, none.
Okay. All those in favor of sealing the well and leaving the space as green space, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So approved. Next item of business is the public safety is needing a new squad car, and evidently there is going to be an increase in price. So we want to be able to get our order in as soon as possible. And we need to have it in by middle of this month. And so what we want to do is avoid the cost increase and get a squad car on order immediately so that we can get it delivered in 2019. Is that correct, Chief?
Yes, otherwise we won't likely be able to get one. Even as such, ordering early, they had orders this year that were canceled that will be built next year. So it's kind of a crapshoot whether we're even going to get one.
We can try. Okay.
That's a roll of dice.
Yep. Entertain a motion to authorize the immediate purchase of the new squad car for delivery in 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Councilman Maroney?
None.
Paul?
No,
None. Get her ordered.
All those in favor of authorizing the purchase, please say aye.
Aye.
Next two items are the two items that we've added to the agenda. The first one basically is a housekeeping item where we change the deputy clerk, office manager, signator for Kathy Millard to Deb Runksmeyer, effective September 24th. And basically what this entails is going down to the bank and signing a bunch of papers. So entertain a motion to adopt the resolution to change the signatories.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Resolution is approved. And the last order of business is Kathy Millard, Joanne Sullivan has resigned from the Cemetery Commission, and Kathy Millard has volunteered to be appointed to that. And so you have the application for appointment to commission for Kathy Millard. All those in favor of approving Kathy Millard to be on the Cemetery Commission? I'll entertain a motion to have Kathy Millard, not that I'm trying to get this done.
So move.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of Kathy Millard being on the Cemetery Commission, please say aye.
Aye. Could I have a brief comment, Mayor, before we
Most certainly.
adjourn?
That's right. I was
Yeah,
gonna.
you forgot that. That's
forgot
okay.
that.
I
It's
forgive
okay.
you.
I have a short memory.
I think the the last paragraph that she wrote on her application, I'd like to read it just for the record. I have worked with the Cemetery Commission since it began, taking minutes, working on butterfly release, selling burial lots, etc. I know the history of the cemetery process and how it works. And ladies and gentlemen, she knows how it works very well. She was there day one when that project was commenced, and has been with it ever since, doing an absolutely admirable job. And I, having been very involved in that, want to just pay you my kudos and respect for the job you've done, not only on this, but all the way. That's it. You'll make a good member.
Meeting is adjourned, and Kathy, thank you so much for everything you have done.
Don't tear up on me. Good meeting, Mr. Mayor.
A little long, 45 minutes.
We're doing good. I'm gonna
Still a
vote
little
for
early,
it.
right?
Do I have to vote for you or no? No, we don't vote, do we? I get to vote. You get to vote. Yeah,
This
okay.
reminds me, our retirement fair, did I miss that window?
There's be an opportunity.
And all of a sudden that Thursday, the 27th.
Oh, I didn't know. Yeah, we can. Yeah, for